I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fray. Be seen in your dream.
No. Don't be afraid. This time, it isn't one of your nightmares. This one was mine.
In the night, and I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you. All I have to do is breathe.
Just remember,
I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. The only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is breathe, breathe, breathe.
did you miss Freddy? Well, just remember, all you have to do is dream.
I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. The only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 6, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. The fan novelization by Jeremy Terry. Chapter 10. Ring Around the Rosie. Tracy was 15 and she was learning to drive. The leather cover on the old station wagon's wheel felt smooth and warm under her sweaty fingers. It slipped when she turned the car around a bend in the road. She looked past the hood ornament to the rolling, tree-lined hills outside Central City and wished she was free to run beneath the leaves. She'd run and never look back. "Easy on the gas, sweetie," her dad said from the seat beside her. He was heavy-set and balding with a thick black mustache that looked like a furry caterpillar perched on his upper lip. His skin was sallow and perpetually damp with a thin sheen of moisture. His eyes bulbous and yellowed. She thought he looked like a toad squatting on the car seat. "Please don't let him touch me," she thought. First there was the sickly, sweet terms of endearment. Then came the fluttering fingers, lighting the moths on her crawling skin. "Please, if he touches me, I'll vomit." "That's my good girl," he purred. She saw him move out of the corner of her eye, saw the shadow cast by his arm as the moth hand descended. She wanted to scream. She couldn't stand it anymore. "Earth to Tracy," Carlos said, drawing her back from her bad memories. "I swear we've been past the blue house before. Are you lost? I found a map back here." She growled deep in her chest, offended by the comments, but even more offended by the ghost of the hand on her thigh. She looked up at the slight boy's reflection in the rearview mirror. "Did I say I needed a map?" Carlos shook his head and stifled a yawn. She looked back to the intersection she was stopped at. Fallen leaves tumbled through the four-way, reminders of a dead past. She turned left and drove along a line of forlorn houses, each with their own little memorials to those loved and lost. There was a small park or courtyard up ahead on her left. She pulled to a stop and stared at a 5-foot-tall bronze statue of a Boy Scout giving a forever salute to the street. A bird dropping encrusted placard with the message, "The children shall endure," written on it, rested on the statue's base. I can't get over the way those people at the fair looked at us, Spencer said. It was freaky, but also sad, you know? Can you imagine losing your kids like that? That would really suck the big one. The super big one, Carlos added, yawning again. The super big and girthy one, Spencer replied. He stretched his hands out and yawned expansively. Jesus, Tracy said, yawning herself. Stop yawning. That shit is contagious. I would if I could, Carlos said. How about you get us back to the shelter before the wheels fall off this contraption? I really don't want to spend the night in this freak show. What do you think I'm trying to do? She grumbled, pulling away from the statue and accelerating down the street. The heels of Maggie's loafers clicked on the deserted street's asphalt as she and John strode towards the brooding hulk of the high school, half a block ahead. She glanced to her right and felt a chill when she saw the top of the water tower from her dream peeking over the trees. There were too many unanswered questions for the both of them, and it was driving her nuts. She hoped the school wouldn't be a waste of time. Her eyes drifted down to the pavement, and she skidded to a halt when she saw what was drawn there. What is it? John asked as he turned back to join her. Why'd you stop? Look, she said, pointing. John looked and gasped. The chalk picture was crude and inexpertly drawn as if it were done by many small hands. It showed a man with a burned face dressed in a red and green sweater, brown pants, and a ratty old fedora. He wore a bloody glove that had knives for fingers. Someone had written the first snatch of a child's song on the road under the figure's booted feet. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Freddy, John muttered. There was something strange in his voice. Maggie turned and saw a glint of recognition in his haunted face. Have you seen this before? She asked. I don't know for sure, but I do know who this is. It's the husband of the missing woman from my newspaper clipping. This is Fred Krueger. Maggie looked back at the simple but menacing drawing and shook her head. John, that isn't a real person. Look at his red face and the glove. He doesn't even look human. You're wrong, he said. She grabbed his arm gently. Listen to me. Traumatized and abused children often draw what they can't talk about. This drawing represents something else. A screen door slammed behind them, and they turned to see a middle-aged woman walking towards them with a bucket of soapy water and a heavy-duty wire brush. She nodded a greeting to each of them as she set the bucket down and knelt. She poured some of the water on the chalk drawing and started to scrub it with the coarse brush. It won't wash away, she said, even when it rains. Maggie watched and saw that it was true. The water should have been enough by itself to wash the image clean, but it remained completely unscathed under the rough wire bristles. John looked into Maggie's eyes and asked, What does she represent? Maggie stared back at him, at a loss for words. Tracy pulled the van to a stop in front of the Boy Scout statue, her mouth agape. It wasn't possible. How had they ended up back there? Nice going, Spencer said as he fished a joint from his pocket and lit it. It takes real talent to travel in a complete circle. He tried to pass the blunt to Carlos, and Carlos waved the skunk-ass scented smoke away, shaking his head and pointing to his hearing aids. No way, I don't play that shit, man. I need the few senses I have. Spencer shrugged and offered the joint to Tracy, who balled her fist up and shook it at him. Put that fucking thing out, she ordered. I hate that smell as much as I hate rich boy show-offs. She rubbed her tired eyes. It's hard enough to stay awake without you lighting up every 10 seconds. Spencer flinched back against the passenger door. It relaxes me. I can relax you, she said, pointing at him with 2 fingers. I'll just puncture your heart with these fingers, mess up the upholstery real good. I've seen her do it, Carlos said, leaning on the back of the front seat. It ain't pretty. Okay, chill, Spencer said, his hands held up in surrender. He butted the joint out in the ashtray, muttering, You need to get laid. Tracy pretended she hadn't heard that. Do you want the map now? Carlos asked. No, I don't need a map. Maggie and John walked past the sign in front of the old brick school building. Someone had spray-painted "School's Out Forever" on the bulletin board that had once announced such cheerful events as pep rallies and homecoming dances. Dead grass and weeds had grown, unchecked for seasons. Brittle blades hissed against their pants as they waded through towards the front entrance. More graffiti marred the cracked sidewalk, the words 3-4 better lock your door painted in white lettering. I guess they didn't teach much poetry around here, John observed. They climbed the steps to the entrance, and John paused again to stare at a faded pink heart painted in the side of the building. Glenn loves Nancy. Were they people you knew? Maggie asked. John shook his head. I don't think so. They moved inside. The Boy Scouts seemed to be laughing at them as they stared flabbergasted at it beneath the westering sun. Finally, Tracy admitted defeat. She held her hand out. Give me the map, she shot Spencer a warning glance. Don't say a word. Spencer mimed, zipping his mouth shut. Behind him, Carlos picked up the map, grimacing at the oily film of ancient spilled food on it, and unfolded it. He unfolded it once, twice, 3 times, again, and again, and again. It wasn't possible. No map could be that big. It covered his lap, the floor, and there was still more. He unfolded it again. Now it was pressing in on his head, suffocating him. He'd never been very claustrophobic, but he was beginning to see how a person could be. The panic beast reared its ugly head, and he took a deep breath to force it back down. Hey guys, he called. Spencer and Tracy didn't answer. Surely they could see what was happening, even if Carlos couldn't see them through the mass of paper. He shoved the map aside only to find more behind it. He was cocooned, hemmed in on all sides. Panic returned, and he couldn't beat it back this time. He tore the sheets, a scream filling his throat. Something red in front of him. Someone had written a message on the map in red ink. You're fucked! Tracy was yelling at him. Carlos snapped awake, realizing he'd been dozing. He saw the folded map on the carpet beside him and tossed it away with a cry. Carlos! Tracy shouted. I asked you for the map. Carlos eyed the thing as if it were a coiled snake, waiting to strike, and shook his head. The map says we're fucked. Nice, Spencer said, opening the passenger side door. You've had 2 chances, Tracy. It's my turn. Fine, Tracy said. But you're dead if I catch you trying to cop a fill while I'm sleeping. Spencer raised one eyebrow. My hand would freeze if I touched you, Ice Queen. They swapped spots, and Spencer pulled the van away from the Boy Scout, his head on a swivel, looking for any route Tracy hadn't tried yet. Secretly, Tracy hoped he had had better luck than she did because she wanted out of this town. She wasn't sure if it was John's crazy talk or something more sinister, but Springwood was starting to scare her. Chapter 11. Freddy 101. Springwood High's dark halls spoke of many empty years of hopeless neglect. Cobwebs hung like curtains from the ceiling, and a thick carpet of dust clung to most surfaces. Strangely, a thin trail had been worn in the dust by the passing of feet. "It's not completely abandoned," John said, pointing. "Someone has been through here regularly." The scraping sound of chalk on a chalkboard was coming from an open classroom door to their right. John and Maggie approached it slowly, fearful that they might be seen as intruders. The classroom was the same as the rest of the school in town outside it, and the sight made Maggie sad. There were only 2 desks in the center of the room, facing the room's sole occupant. The man was middle-aged and shorter than Maggie. He wore a rumpled suit. The shoulders drifted with copious amounts of either chalk dust or dandruff, and his eyes were hidden behind thick sunglasses. He didn't turn away from his frantic scribbling. "Now, class," said the man, glancing over his shoulder to stare at people only he could see. "Remember, you will have to pass both an oral and written exam." John frowned at the man, and then glanced to Maggie for guidance. Cartoons and movies often depict mental illness as comical. He was finding that real life was very different. The man made him uncomfortable, like he was watching him change clothes. "Don't disturb him," she said. She walked to one of the desks, flipped open a thick binder, and began to flip through the pages. "Come here and look at this." John joined her and saw that the binder contained old photos and newspaper clippings from the local paper. She pointed to an empty space between 2 clippings where dried glue still remained. It was the perfect size for the newspaper clipping John had found in his pocket. "I think that proves it," Maggie said. "You were here." Suddenly the man turned to face them, his short piece of chalk held up like a baton. "Welcome to Freddy 101. He reached up and pulled a once-white overhead light projector screen down. It was covered in cryptic formulas and equations, and there was a detailed timeline in the center that seemed to detail Freddy Krueger's life and crimes. "In 1493, Freddy sailed across the sea," he sing-songed. Maggie finished flipping through the binder and closed it with a snap. "I can't find anything about you in here." "At least I'm not up there," John said, pointing behind her to the back wall. Maggie turned and stared in quiet horror. A plaque was hung near the ceiling, the message, "In Memoriam," written in block lettering. Below that were rows upon rows of black and white framed pictures of teenagers. Each row stretched the width of the room, and rows went from floor to ceiling. Each frame had a date printed on the bottom. "My God," Maggie thought. "It's like the little crosses in the yards. There's so many." "Look at the dates," Maggie said. "They are all within a 10-year period. What the hell happened here?" A light was coming on inside John's mind as connections were finally being made. "Freddy happened here." Maggie shook her head. "That's impossible. Fred Krueger was dead before all this started." The teacher slapped his hand on a particular date on the timeline, drawing their attention again. "Here's a crucial point," he said. "Anyone know what I'm talking about? Anyone at all?" He looked around the room, frowning in disappointment. "Come on, people. We covered this. Here is where they took his child away." John took a step closer, listening to the teacher intently now. "What child?" The man continued as if no one had spoken. To him, John and Maggie were more ghostly than the spirits he saw filling his class. "They took the child and put it in the town orphanage, adding a crucial variable to an already unstable status quo." John looked to Maggie, his eyes alight. He had a kid. "In 1494, Freddy came back to look for more." Something changed in the teacher's expression then. He lost his declamatory air, his shoulders slumping. His head twitched furtively, as if his gaze could not settle on any point for more than a second. He dropped the chalk and his fingers drifted to his mouth. He rubbed his chin and began to pace. "FK has gone away," he said. "FK has gone away." "Enough of this," John said. He walked over and grabbed the teacher's arm. The man jumped as if he'd been electrocuted, and he turned his face towards him, seeing them for the first time. I knew there'd be people coming to blame it all on me, said the man, tears streaming from behind his sunglasses to fall down his stubby cheeks. He made me promise not to tell. He said he'd know, and I'd get worse when he came back. Maggie walked up to John's side. Come back from where? The man's gaze shifted to her, his lips trembling. When he came back from being dead, he promised me he'd come for me in my sleep. That's when he gets you. He gets you when you dream. Everything might have been different if they hadn't taken the kid away. Everything might have been different if he'd still had something he cared for. What kid? John asked. FK's child. They took it away from him, put it in an orphanage, drove him even crazier than he already was. His child, John said. What was the kid's name? The teacher shook his head, hysteria returning. He chewed his fingers, giggling. He said he'd come back and get me, but he can't. I outsmarted him. I ain't sleeping anymore. I took care of it. See? He jerked his arm free of John's grasp and whipped his sunglasses off. John and Maggie stepped back, sick to their very souls. The man had stapled his eyelids to his forehead so that he could never close them again. His dried red eyeballs rolled wildly in their sockets. FK has gone away! He screamed and bolted from the room. Maggie and John stood in silence until the sound of his footsteps and chanting had passed out of the school and faded to nothing up the street. Okay, Slash-a-Holics, this has been chapters 10 and 11 of Freddy's Dead, the fan novelization by Jeremy Terry. Had a lot of fun with these chapters. One of my favorite parts of the movie is the whole map scene and the "you're fucked!" We didn't have any Freddy, per se, in tonight's chapter, but we got a lot of story, a lot of character development. I really enjoyed hanging with the teenagers in the van. That's always been a fun scene, as I said. The yawning was making me actually yawn. So I just went ahead and used it. I enjoyed the scene at the school with the teacher who's got his eyelids stapled to his forehead. That is some sick imagery, and I'm here for it. Love it. Anytime I can play somebody slipping into insanity, it's a lot of fun. If you want to hear me really have some fun with that sort of stuff, find the Edgar Allan Poe poems that I've narrated here on the channel. The Raven and the Telltale Heart. I had a lot of fun narrating those, and I think you might enjoy them if you haven't heard them yet. But yeah, these were some great chapters. I'm glad to be back at it. It's been about a week. When I wrapped up Primal, I needed to get it ready for print, and it took me a while to get everything perfect on that. I had to split up the chapters, get a manuscript, get everything grammar checked, all of that. So I'm sure there's still a few little errors. But everything's on Amazon now with Primal. You can get the ebook, paperback, or hardcover. It's $2.99 for an ebook, $14.99 for paperback, and $22.75 for a hardcover. I wanted to make the prices cheaper, but because the book is 513 pages long, the printing cost is pretty high. So I don't even really make that much on the prices I have it set at. But really, to me, it's just about getting the book out there. I would love for you all to have one on your bookshelf, as well as Quarantine and Celestial Slumber and A Halloween Massacre by Jeremy Terry, a Murder Report by James Acosta. We can build up our own library of books just from folks here on the channel and the stuff I'm writing. It can be a lot of fun. I definitely have all the books, and I plan on building a bigger collection, more of James's work, Jeremy's, William Pattison's, Landon Turner's, Rashad Moore's, everybody's, and I plan on writing more myself. But yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Freddy's Dead. Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you thought of tonight's chapters, what you thought of the book so far. let Jeremy Terry know that you're enjoying it. He works hard on getting these fan novelizations knocked out. In fact, he's already got one ready of, I believe, Saw, Hellraiser 2, Bone Tomahawk, and he's working on Friday the 13th Part 8 right now. And after that, he's going to make some better novelizations of the Nightmare on Elm Street films 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So thank you, Jeremy. That's freaking awesome. All right, Slash-a-Holics, be excellent to each other. If you want to support the channel, spread the word. That's the best way you can help. Click the like button, drop a comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you want to go the extra mile, do a super thanks comment below, or you can do a super thanks tip through PayPal or Cash App, or become a channel member or a patron of the channel. You can visit the merch store, buy the books like I said, even get a cameo video. There's so many options if you want to support the channel. All the information to do so and the links to get you there is in the pinned comment and description below. Until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying, be excellent to each other, try to stay sane inside insanity, and pleasant dreams!
In the dark of the night, with tales of horrific might, Josh spins his airy weave in the stories we believe. Freddy's in my dreams, Chucky's silent screams, Jason's lurking near, Michael feeds the fear. I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic, Josh keeps me up all night. Eyes and masks and pain, blood runs like the rain. Evil finds its way in the spine-chilling fray. Out of breath but not out of light. Horror digs, don't look behind. Feel the terror cry. Will you dare to slave? I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic, Josh keeps me up all night. I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic, Josh